Okay, we're gonna get started. We're gonna rank all the games that I played in 2022 on this tier list. Uh, Here's how the tiers work. Game of the year and anti-game of the year will be decided after we place everything else, and game of the year will be decided from S tier. Anti-game of the year will be decided from D tier. So we're gonna place everything between S and D, and then at the end pick one for the game of the year and anti-game of the year. S will specifically be games that I feel are nominated for my game of the year. A will be games that are very similar to the S tier ranking, but I don't think that they're quite good enough to be S tier. B tier is the one lower than A, and then C tier is lower than B, D tier is lower than C. And then finally, anti game of the year is my least favorite game that I played that year. Okay, that being said, I actually have, and right now the order that you see them in on the screen is just alphabetical. Looking forward to Incredibles winning anti-game of the year again. Fair. Okay. So starting off, we have Air Memories of Old. I am looking at a list over on this monitor over here because I rated things as I went through this year, so I don't have to try to remember things that I played at the beginning of the year too well. And I made some notes, so I'll have some stuff to uh, add to it. So starting off, Air Memories of Old, solid D tier. Uh, Now this definitely has potential to be much better. Let me explain. I bought the game on sale last Christmas. Uh, I played it for like 2 hours. I got stuck immensely and had no idea what I was supposed to be doing, and I gave up. So I think the game could be good. However, I didn't play it enough to make a decision about it, really. So getting stuck within the first 2 hours did not appreciate that. Game number two, Balan Wonderworld. Uh, I had so many notes on this one. My Excel document was struggling to scroll correctly because of how many notes I've made on this game. Here's my takeaways. Here's the pros. I'll start with the pros. The concept of a one button game, very cool. It looked pretty. The first world is legitimately fun. Uh, and co op allows players to have a double jump, which can cheese a ton of the game, which is very fun to do. I unfortunately played this game twice this year because I played it with the architect. Many of you know him from some of the streams previously. I played it with him in co-op because we wanted to try playing a new game, and we knew that it was going to be bad, but we wanted to try it anyways. And then he made me play it on the 3D platformer, 3D pick a platformer stuff because he's mean. So I've played it twice. Here's the cons of Balan Wonderworld. The execution of a one-button game was extremely lacking. Why did the costume switch take so long? Why? There were so many. You needed a jump button and the action button. It needed to be a two-button game. Uh, and in my opinion, the costume switches should have been instant, and then you use the face buttons. I'm sorry, the camera's over here now. I'm not used to it. Use the face buttons as each of the three costumes, and then on PlayStation, square, triangle, circle does your three different powers, and then X is still jump no matter what else you have. Um, I also wrote that every other world was a struggle because the game was designed for you to be able to jump, but you couldn't always jump. The Balin flying around sections were an absolute waste of garbage time, and I wish they didn't exist. Every time we did one, I wanted to throw myself into the void. It was cool 1 to 3 times. They put 48 of them in the game. Levels often required you to bring back costumes to get statues that you couldn't otherwise get. Decent idea, but it was really annoying to get back to those areas with those costumes, and it was annoying to have to go back to find the costume that you needed constantly. Co-op is a struggle because the camera doesn't follow player 2, so they get lost constantly. And then finally, the final boss was a train wreck. It didn't make a ton of sense, and at one point, there's like the end of the fight, and the boss kind of like falls down after you kill him or whatever. And I was underneath of that, and it broke the game and sent me back to the hub, and I had to redo the entire fight. All that being said, the second playthrough of Balan Wonderworld, I enjoyed a lot more. I thought that it was kind of fun when you already know kind of what you're doing and you know to avoid the Balan things. Yeah, Clock, I played it in co-op with my buddy, and then to be mean to me, he made me play it for the 3D pick-up platformer thing. So, with all that being said, C tier. And that's only because I enjoyed it the second time when I already knew where things were. But D tier's reserved for some losers. Where would it be after the first playthrough? It would be D tier for sure. Going into it with more knowledge definitely helps the experience. And if you tried 100% that game, it would definitely be the anti-game of the year. 100%. Okay. Beanie. I wrote that it was fun, but it didn't really have a ton of content. C tier. I think it's a better... Like, the amount of time... If I spent the same amount of time in both Beanie and Balan, I think I would have enjoyed Beanie more. However, I want there to be more game. Next up, Bomberman 64. I thought there were a few issues with some ambiguous puzzles. For instance, there's one level where there's a door with a symbol on it. And then you have to do something that unlocks the door. Then later, there's another level where there's a same symbol on a wall, and that one you just have to blow up. But the other one, it didn't have that. It was just like a lot of little things where it was the level became ambiguous because they went with 2 different designs across levels. The dragon boss, the first boss, was trash. And otherwise, nothing really stood out too much to me about the game, but it was fun. So that one is a B tier. Chibi Robo, the platformer game that isn't a platformer. Chibi Robo was my 3rd most streamed game of last year. It was fun. I definitely enjoyed the game. It was also extremely unique. Oh no, CJ's back. What happened? But yeah, Chibi Robo extremely unique. I really like that there was always so many different things that you could do. but it was sometimes too cryptic to find things without a guide, like the ghost costume. Um, and then a lot of times it got a little repetitive with like uh, the toothbrushing over the floor constantly and that kind of thing. And then sometimes I thought that the text was too slow, and I didn't like that I couldn't skip text if I had already done it. So, with that being said, I enjoyed Chibi Robo a lot. But I'm going to put it in A tier. It's definitely not a contender for Game of the Year for me, but I really did enjoy it. CJ, I put Air in D tier because I played it for 2 hours, made zero progress, and then didn't feel like playing it anymore because it was too cryptic to figure out where to go first. Maybe I just missed something obvious, but I just didn't feel like playing it. It easily could be better because I know you two and Sable like it, so I'm sure there is merit to it. Next up, Crash 2. I had a lot of frustration with Crash 2 when I tried to 100% it. 100%ing Crash 1 was an absolute mess. 100%ing Crash 2 was just making me angry trying to go backwards through those levels and deal with the death platforms. Then I switched to any percenting the game and had a much better time. So, I didn't like the alternative styles of play levels, like riding the bear and the jetpack. I hated the jetpack. But for the most part, I had a decent time with Crash 2. And I think if I was doing this as a 100% thing, then it would be C tier. But as an any percent playthrough, I'm going to put it in B tier. Sorry if I have to take a break to cough or anything. I'm over all of the bad feelings of being sick, but there's still some having to cough and stuff. Look, I love the bear itself. I just don't like the levels. Thank you, CJ. I appreciate it. All right, Croc, the legend of the Gobos. This one is still very fresh in my mind because I just played it in December. Yo, thank you for the sub to clock, CJ. Alright, Shadow. Automod got it. But Kitsune still attacked. Alright. Balderdash? Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I turned on auto mod because I wanted it there, and I forgot it existed. Okay, Croc. Now that I'm done being distracted. No, the auto mod did not catch the wall. I enjoyed all of the levels in Croc. I thought the levels were fun. Well, I guess not all. There was two. Yes, you go past Automod, Kitsune. There was like 2 or 3 that I just didn't understand what I was supposed to do, and I just kind of cheesed them, I think. However, I can't stand tank controls. I beat the game. I didn't enjoy beating the game necessarily. the couple other things that were wrong with it, there were there was a lot of times where there was not very much player feedback. Um, Mostly on the bosses. You would just hit them and nothing would happen, but you actually did hit them. Um, the game did not play to its strengths of having you solve puzzles. Since you couldn't move adequately, I think it would have been better as more of a puzzle platformer, but it was definitely designed to be an action platformer. It was like the move set and the controls did not match the game style. Um, I think if the game had normal controls instead of tank controls, it would have been like an A tier game. But because it was tank controls, it felt like 1997's mediocre indie game, and as such, I'm putting it in C tier. Um, Next up was Darksiders. Darksiders, for anybody that doesn't know, is a Zelda-like game uh, with some dark themes stemming from the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. That's basis of Darksiders. I played this with Architect. Um, I wrote down that the story was too complicated, so I'm not 100% sure what happened. But the gameplay was very fun, and the hack and slash elements were very well designed. I enjoyed the combat, I enjoyed the bosses, and I enjoyed the puzzle elements. I thought it was just a good Zelda game that was not called Zelda, you know? Um, there were several times where it felt like the enemies were not uh, you couldn't defeat the enemies adequately because you're fighting two of them and neither one of them took hit stun, and they were big, so they just kind of killed you. So uh, it had some issues, but overall I enjoyed the game. And we did 100% it. So I want to clarify, it is not a co-op game. Ark and I just kind of play games together where we pass the controller back and forth. So I think I'm gonna put Darksiders in A tier. Yo, what's up, CC? How you doing? You did one of these last night? You should highlight that, because I'd love to see what you played and how you enjoyed them. And if you already highlighted it, I'd like to watch. Darksiders D tier? Fair enough. When I initially played Darksiders with the Architect, it was like 5 or 6 years ago, right? We played it on the PS3 version, and 3 separate times the game soft locked because it didn't load something in. Like, there's a power up where you have like a boomerang, effectively, and it can pick up elements. So one of the puzzles is throw boomerang at torch and then target the bomb with the fire boomerang and it'll blow up. Well, the torches just didn't light. So we were just kind of stuck. Yeah, the Darksiders definitely had some problems. But I definitely didn't fall out of bounds where there's no death plane, though. That's pretty bad. Okay. Next up, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Had a lot of fun with this game. It has a lot of unique levels. It has a lot of good elements to it. It is bad in co-op. It is not a good co-op game. One player gets DK and just can't do things, and then the other player gets the other Kong, which is fine. And then I've played it in both single player and co-op at this point. It just feels better to have more health because it's both players combined, and also the partner Kong at the same time. I don't know why I felt compelled to 100% the game after having a rough experience with the co-op single player or the co-op initial playthrough. But I did. I 100%ed the game. The Kong letters are easy to find. Squawks can help you find the puzzle pieces, which is fine. The time trials are fun, except for World 4 because the water-based time trials are garbage. I hate the water controls in that game. The bosses, except for the final boss, were enjoyable. And it always felt like I was discovering something new in the game. Oh, I didn't like that the secret exits weren't always something that you could find. I really like how Mario World does it, where there's like a notation on the map that there's 2 exits. And in addition to all that, there is a hard mode in the game, and I'm going to go back and do that at some point. But I have not done it yet. But I'm going to put Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze in S tier. Just don't play it in co-op. Alright, next up, Dora the Explorer Journey to the Purple Planet. The game that we memed so much. The game that CJ said that he'll murder me for if I submit to a SDAT. It was a bad playthrough. It was not... it's a game meant for 3-year-olds. It is 100% way too easy. And it's barely a game. It's mostly walk to the next educational bit. However, we did the speedrun immediately afterwards, and I got 14th place out of, 45 or something. It was fun. I enjoyed the speedrun. So, overall, B tier. It's not a bad game. Okay. Next up, Fall Guys. Thank you to Dreams for having me play Fall Guys in the first place. Fall Guys, very fun game to play with friends and to hang out with. And I enjoyed the $1,000 tournament. I enjoyed... What did we get? Second? We got second, right? At that tournament. And then I haven't touched it since. However, I definitely really enjoyed the game. I wish that you could unlock more stuff without being required to pay for a season pass. I wish those things were just unlockable from playing, and it was easier with season pass or something. But other than that, I enjoyed the game a lot, and I enjoyed the competitive aspects of it, and I just had a great time with Fall Guys. So I'm going to put it in A tier. It's really hard for me to say that it would be an S tier, because I don't think that the game was phenomenal intrinsically. I think it was just very fun to play with people. Next up, Glover. I wrote, I don't think Glover is a good game, but I certainly had fun with it. I'm going to do a little bit of swapping around here. And put the tier list on the other screen so I'm facing more towards the camera. Still look okay? Yes. Okay, I wrote, I don't think Glover is a good game, but I certainly had fun with it. The ball mechanics are pretty out of control, and while I think it's intentional, some of the downfalls of that are unbearable, especially on steep slopes. My main problems were there were several places where you need to set the ball down and jump to places without indication, like in the lighthouse. And I did not like the fear-based world, the horror world or whatever. Yeah, that's true, Clocky. It does make sense for a free-to-play game. But I do wish that you could still get stuff. Like, with the Season Pass, you should be able to get everything. Without the Season Pass, you should be able to get anything. That's my opinion on it. and that's just not how it works at all. There's like certain stuff locked behind money entirely. I really enjoyed the prehistoric space in Carnival Worlds, even though the Carnival one especially was very confusing. Uh, and I forgot this happened. The game crashed and deleted my save file. This happened on stream, but I caught back up pretty quickly. So, whatever. And I played it on 64 for anybody that was wondering. But overall, I'm gonna put this game in B tier. It was a fun game, but it just had some issues. All right, Ice Age Scrat's Nutty Adventure. The game was very funny. There was a lot of glitchiness, but overall, it was a fun time just jumping around as a little dude. The telekinesis power-up was very slow, and the programming and design of the game was kind of mediocre, but I enjoyed being able to do cheese because of it. The gameplay was extremely repetitive to the point where I barely remember the game. But the occasional section where it differed was very fun. Also, the ending of the game single-handedly moves this game up a tier. It's in B tier. Alright, Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy. I really liked Jak and Daxter. It felt a little clunky. Kefka, please! It felt a little clunky, especially double jumping. And some of the levels were a little monotonous sometimes. But overall, they were very varied in visual design. The platforming was great when it didn't feel like something clunky was happening programming-wise. And there was plenty of areas to explore, and I liked that the levels vary between linear and open-ended. Overall, just nothing was awful with Jak except for sometimes it lagged and ate my jump or something like that. So I'm gonna say, Jak to S tier. Alright, next up, Kiwi. And also somebody recommend a soundtrack for me to play next, because we're going to change the soundtrack after Kiwi. I had a lot of fun playing Kiwi. Kiwi was a great co-op game with my wife. At first, when I played the first three, or first 4 or 5 levels, I thought it was going to get super duper repetitive, but then like every time we kept playing it changed up and changed up and changed up, and it was very fun. I think that the price point for the game being $30 is steep if you don't 100% it. If you 100% it, it was definitely worth it, but otherwise it was kind of it got a little, it was pretty short without 100%ing it. For that price point. So, I think Kiwi overall, I'm going to put into an A tier. One thing I do wish about it, there is DLC for the game. It is not available on PlayStation, so I haven't gotten to play this PlayStation, or I haven't got to play the DLC yet. So, that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Okay, let me swap over to the F-Zero music because Viv really wants it. Song's too long. We're starting with a different one. These are all 8-minute songs. Heck. All right. Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Do I need a playlist for F-Zero GX? No, I found a playlist. I just wanted to put on a suggestion from the audience. So I'm doing specifically F-Zero GX right now, and then I'll do something else when we get to Spyro. Switch it up. Okay, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I enjoyed the game. Played most of it in co-op, but I finished getting 100% solo, and then I did another main game playthrough for 3D platformers request from Bear. Um, Overall, enjoyed the game. Thought the moment to moment felt great. My least favorite thing were the power ups being like one move. It's like they just didn't have enough variety in one power up. Um, I think the worlds looked more open than they were when they were really pretty linear. And the co op player 2 specifically experience is not great. You should have been able to be another Kirby. The camera did not follow you. It kind of pushed you around. It warped you randomly. So player 2, unfortunate. And then I really liked getting better at the combat and unlocking ups for upgrades to the power ups. I guess is what I'm trying to say, because they did feel significantly stronger. So overall, I think Kirby is going to go in A tier. I don't think it stood out to me as much as Jak and Daxter or Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Also, just to note, everything on this list, I'm just going to put in alphabetical order for within a tier. I did this last year with my backlogged. You guys don't know what backlogged is? Let me pull it up. Not sure how much you guys can see of this. Oh, cool. Last year I didn't make a list. Never mind. I was gonna make a list. I'll do it this year of all the games that are on this list in order for 100% order instead of just alphabetical within tiers. It probably won't be super accurate, but I'll do my best. Okay. On my list next is Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, because I just started it like 2 days ago. So I'm going to count that for 2023 since I just started it. So then, the actual next up is Multiverses. Multiverses was fun for a little bit, and then I did not feel like continuing playing. The moves did not feel like they had the correct weight to them all the time. Sometimes you'd get hit and it would just send you nowhere. Sometimes you'd get hit and it felt the same, but you'd go flying. I also didn't like that there was... It didn't feel like there was a ton of depth to the game. And then, at the same time, I couldn't figure out what any character was trying to do at any given point. But overall, I just didn't care to continue playing because I don't care to do online with somebody else gaming very much. So I'm going to put it in C tier. Alright, next up, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. It's solid. I liked that it was free to play. I didn't get to play Nick Brawl because I didn't want to buy it. But, yeah, I think I liked it more than Nick Brawl from looking at it, too. Okay, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Solid game. Easily the best New Super Mario Bros. Game. I recently had replayed New Super Mario Bros. DS and New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and I just didn't like those ones a ton. But this one, I thought that they took out a ton of the garbage. Like, Wii had a lot of motion controls, and the original New Super Mario Bros. Had a lot of bring a mini mushroom from another level, and then survive for the entire level. And that very, very, very rarely happened in New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. I think it happened one time. I think that one of the bigger issues is that you couldn't tell from the map what levels had secret exits. Um, and you needed to have all the secret exits to get the final 5th star on uh, the title screen. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I liked the squirrel suit a lot. But my final note is that there's nothing in the game that got me extremely excited on its own. But I do think that I enjoyed it more than the games in A tier overall, so I'm going to put it in S tier. Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville. What a bad game, man. It's not good. I played the co-op story mode with my wife, and then, first of all, it doesn't resize any of the HUD to... It's split screen, right? It doesn't resize any of the HUD to actually match. It just shrinks it. And with an 80-inch TV in my living room, we couldn't read it from across the room on the couch. So then we're still playing it, right? Player 2 does not get selected as like a profile on the Switch, or not the Switch, the PlayStation. 80 inch TV. That's not true. It's 75. I'm pretty sure it's 75. I tried to get her to do the 80, but she wouldn't do it. So then we're playing through the story mode, and it's like there's a zombie, and you gotta be cool enough to get past his bouncer. And you're like, cool, how do I do that? And he's like, go talk to the 3 dudes. And you go talk to the 3 dudes. I don't care if I spoil this for anybody. Nobody should play this game. So you talk to the 3 dudes, and each of the 3 dudes sends you on a separate mission. And then you're like, great. And then you go past it, and then fight the disco zombie. And you fight the disco zombie, and it's like, oh, a cool boss. And all of the game up to this point is fine. And then it's over. There's no credits, but there's nothing left to do. It is 100% intended to be a microtransaction heavy PvP game with a tiny story mode to fit in there. It just stops though. It felt like a demo. And on top of that, the second player doesn't get to keep any of their progress, and there's a leveling system. So if you just don't get to have any of your progress and you put the game down for an hour to go eat lunch or whatever, you better leave that console on, otherwise player 2 loses all of their progress. And it freaks the game out too, because it thinks that they're on a different quest because of that. So it's a D tier. Next up, Pokemon Legends Arceus. I loved Pokemon Legends Arceus. I really liked the changes to the battle system. Not for like competitive play, but because it was a single player experience that wasn't intended to be a multiplayer thing, I loved it. It made the battles feel more dynamic, which means that you had more mystery as what was going to happen, which kind of felt more RPG-like than Pokemon, regular Pokemon, once you already know everything about the competitive aspects of Pokemon. Exploring all of the areas felt great. Getting rewarded with the Braviary at the end felt amazing, so you had so many different methods of traversal. The game has 3 major ending points. It feels good to be able to complete each of them. And, I don't know, it's fun. to keep feeling like there's more to do. My biggest issues with the game are pretty much what's the issues with most Pokemon games at this point. There are graphic issues. Why is the game flashing between day and night transitions? Why are there 3 FPS flying Pokemon? I understand there's hardware limitation and stuff, but Pokemon definitely needs to optimize better because there are games that look and feel better on the console. So I know it's possible. I thought some parts were a bit too cryptic. For instance, Ursaluna's evolution condition. And I think this is a problem with every Pokemon game, and I hate it every single time. And I also thought that the characters toward the end lacked personality, and I wish they replaced personality with a gimmick. And this kind of continued into Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, in my opinion. But, for instance, Polina seems like a real character. Polina being the Growlithe girl. Sabby, the Braviary girl, literally only talks about clairvoyance until it no longer sounds like a word. So I didn't like that there was inconsistency with how much a main character that is on the same level has character building to them. And I said otherwise the game is very good and had a great difficulty curve as well as constant rewards for exploration. One other thing that I would like to point out, I loved that I didn't need a second game or a friend to complete the Pokedex in this game. I thought that was one of the biggest benefits of Pokemon Legends Arceus compared to every other Pokemon game ever created. It's S tier. Next up, Pokemon Scarlet. We're immediately comparing 3 Pokemon games here. Pokemon Scarlet, which I obviously have just played since it just came out, I thought it was very fun, but it was immediately obvious that the performance of the game was lacking, and it was missing polish. One of the biggest things about the game to me was that none of the buildings were enterable to actually have anything in them. Like, there were a couple that were enter the building, it's a menu. But there was only, like, 5 enterable buildings that were not gyms. And that just, it didn't feel good. I went to Laventia, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, by the way. And there's that whole section off to the side where it's, like, 4 business towers. And you just can't go in them. It just didn't feel right. What else? Every city lacks personality, and I think that's because you can't go in the buildings. The characters are all very one-dimensional. And I didn't like it at first, but then at some points it felt better. Like, all the gym leaders had their day job and then their gym leader job, you know? The exception to all the characters, Larry is my favorite character in all of Pokemon now. Let's see, what else did I write here? Oh, the new Pokemon don't appeal to me. Clocky, I definitely have an older Switch, and I didn't think it got that bad. But it definitely isn't good. It's not consistent. Yeah, I just did not like the new Pokemon very much. Did Dunsparce made you puke? That's pretty funny. I like him. The post game, if you guys don't know about the post game, close your ears for a minute. It just kinda stopped. It didn't wrap up. It just stopped. I thought the Pokemon of Ruins were going to be part of the post game. No, they were not. It just stops. I'm still excited to play competitively, and I really enjoyed the ending of the game. I thought the once you complete all 3 of the segments, it's really good. I enjoyed the Arven story a lot. I'm skipping the song. Didn't like it. And overall, I'm going to put the game in A tier. But I definitely didn't enjoy it as much as Legends Arceus. And I think it would be reasonable for me to put it in to B tier. We might do a February tournament, Kitsune. January's getting pretty busy because of... if anybody didn't hear about it, there's an event called Record Time. We're going to be doing the top 7 of the top 8 Chameleon Twist players are going to be competing to try to get the world record live on the Speed Dock stream. That's January 28th and 29th. So, if you need more information about it, just ask me and I'll get it to you later. I just don't want to do it while I'm doing this tier list. But that's going to be a great time. You guys should definitely come by. Alright, Pokemon Shining Pearl, I did not complete this year. I started it at the beginning of the year before Legends Arceus came out. I'm going to put it in the same place that I put Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, which is in A tier. I want to do another playthrough of that because I love Gen 4, and I want to play it with the Manaphy, because I got the Manaphy egg, and I really want to do a playthrough with Manaphy on my team, because I love Manaphy. Yeah. Not too much to say about it because I didn't play it all the way. Kefka, I understand. I love a lot of bad Pokemon. Also, Kitsune, I'm going to need you to help me with competitive Scarlet and Violet stuff because I don't know where to start in this generation. I understood it more when there was Dynamax and there was a centralizing gimmick, and now it's not a centralizing gimmick. So I have no idea what to do. Alright, what do we listen to next? Let's change up the music. Tired of F-Zero GX. It's a pretty good mechanic. Mega Man. Which Mega Man, Shadow? Mega Man 2, alright. Cool, we got 2 votes for Mega Man 2. Alright. Mega Man 2 is the only Mega Man I've beaten, by the way. Alright, next up, Bullfrog. If you guys remember, there was that Ukraine Itch.io bundle. It was like, you pay a small amount and you get like 1,000 things. Bullfrog was one of the games in that. I went through all of the games that came out through that. And I looked at them and decided some that I wanted to play and like marked them and stuff. Bullfrog was one of them, and I downloaded it, and it's not good. It's just... It's like Tetris, except it's pieces that are 1, 2, or 3 blocks. And they fall down so fast, and at the same time, and you have to pull them around as a frog. So most of the time, it's not a solvable puzzle. Whereas like Tetris, most of the time the puzzle is solvable. You just might mess up. This one, you just cannot move around fast enough to cause what you need to happen. So overall, I think I'm going to put that in D tier. But I also had low expectations of it because it was a little itch.io puzzle game. Sounds like Updog. Fair. Alright. Next up, Sackboy: A Big Adventure. I had a great time playing that with my wife. The game is intended for co-op, which is great for co-op. It's not great if you're trying to play single player, because there are levels that are required for 100% that are co-op exclusive levels. And if you try to pair up with people online, unless you are meeting up with a friend, it takes forever to find somebody, and it's much, much better to just play one player, two controllers. It's really unfortunate. I don't feel comfortable playing it on stream for the 3D platformer list because is quite a bit of copyright music in the game, but it's very fun to play the game with that music playing because it goes with the levels a lot. Mechanics for the game are very simple, but overall very fun. The post-game levels are quite challenging. I still haven't beaten the last level, and I need to go back and do it. And it's been long enough that my wife says that she will not do it with me now, so I'm going to be doing it by myself, which is fine. The things that hold the game back from me was that it felt like there was nothing special. I don't know why nothing felt super special, but there was. I guess what did feel special were the music-based levels, but even that was just the music that felt special instead of the level itself. Also, there are cork blocks that you can hold on to. I didn't feel like they worked right. Something felt off with it. I don't know how to fix it, but it didn't work quite right. And otherwise, overall, I really liked the levels. I thought they were very fun to play, and I enjoyed all the costumes that you got along the way. Customization was the name of the game for Sackboy. So, I'm almost done 100%ing it, but now I need to go back and play it after a year and do the hardest levels. So, you know one of the Sackboy devs, Sai? It's pretty neat. I think Sackboy I'm going to put as an A tier. Because again, nothing stood out super hard to me. Though I think New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is about the same tier for me. I'm going to move that down to A. Sonic Frontiers. Kitsune, before I go on, how far are you in Sonic Frontiers now? Okay. Alright. Sounds good, Kitsune. I'm going to go ahead and talk about this game. Viv, you can mute too. I'll mute. I'll ping you and I'll at you in the chat when I'm done. That's pretty cool, Sai. Was it related to being the Sackboy dev that you talked to, or no? Okay. Flip the Piplup when done. Got it. So, Sonic Frontiers is exactly what I expected from a Sonic game. The game was okay during its best moments and awful during its worst. That's pretty neat, Sai. You should tell me more about that at another time. I did my a numerical rating. I gave it 2 out of 10 points for the music alone. There is the soundtrack for Sonic Frontiers is a banger. No game can get more than 2 out of 10 from just the music from me, by the way. Other than like maybe Guitar Hero. But the music is phenomenal. The other couple points that it got, I thought the mini bosses were cool, and I thought the levels in the portals, whatever you want to call it, I don't really understand what was happening there, were kind of fun most of the time. There was a few that were pretty bad. I gave it a 5, Clocky. I gave it 5 out of 10. The game is so glitchy. It just doesn't. The movement does not match the game flow most of the time. The skill tree is completely unnecessary. The content of the main islands is super boring. Like, none of those rails are important. Why are they there? The only reason they're there are to make it slightly less monotonous and droning on in the overworld. The world is predominantly empty. The fishing was phenomenal. I love the fishing. I could chill to that song all day, and I have. I will say, sorry, I want to try to keep up on chat and talk at the same time. It's very hard. I will say 100% Sonic Frontiers is the best Sonic game that I played. Overall, I liked the mini bosses. I liked the regular boss except for the time that I soft locked on the first boss potentially, because we didn't have power-ups to make it like easier, and then we lost to the boss, right? And when you respawn trapped in the arena that the boss is in. And there's not enough rings on the ground to make it possible without strength upgrades that we could tell. So I think we were soft locked on the first boss, and we had to revert to a previous save. Fortunately, the previous save existed. I liked the portal levels. I think some, very few, but some of the map unlocking things were fun. And the combat was better than any other Sonic game. I don't think it was fantastic or anything, but I think it was better than any other Sonic game. When I thought it was going to be not good. I thought the little side loop thing from the trailers, I thought it was going to be a lot worse. I liked that there was combat skills that let you vary against the different types of enemies. And the mini-bosses had... You needed to vary up how you fought them. Rails were still bad from being overused, and they were kind of glitchy. Wall running, awful. Just doesn't work. The final boss felt a little empty. A couple of the portal levels had the traditional, very classic 1 out of 10 Sonic classic expected design of spikes that come out of nowhere that you can't see ahead of time. That they normally have in every Sonic 2D game. But, you know. The world was too empty, I thought. But at the same time, the things to unlock the map was too prevalent. I think the world just needed to be a little bit smaller and have less of those map things. I think there should have been about 10 per island. The fourth island, the tower one, awful. Had no need to exist. Every single part of that was awful. Every time I fell, I wanted to cry. And I fell a lot because it was glitchy. Oddly, Island 2 and 5 had too many memories needed to unlock the story, where 1 and 3 were fine. The story was just bad in general. And it required you to have played too many Sonic games or watched too many Sonic lore videos to understand what was happening. Odd thing, this one's not a pro or con. The fishing, it wasn't RNG. It was just a cycle they're in order, and once you catch all the fish in an area, it just resets the loop. It doesn't like re-randomize them or anything. It just resets the loop, which was goofy. Yeah, Island 3 was particularly bad with the rail stuff. It just locked you into 2D sections when it shouldn't have, and you just wanted to leave and you couldn't. Man, there were so many things wrong with Sonic Frontiers. But overall, I put it as 5 out of 10, which is in C tier. Which is much better than I expected it to do. I'm gonna be honest. 100% better than I expected. I expected it to be my anti-game of the year when I went into it. So, and I'd even say it's better than Balan. I would think it's like the top of C tier. So. Okay, we're done talking about Sonic Frontiers. No more mentioning Sonic Frontiers. We're flipping the flip-flop back. This is our signal to Viv. I'm gonna @ Kitsune in Discord. Oh, yo, Cece, thank you for sending me that. Flip the Piplup in a rap. I'm down. Sounds like a good bar. All right. Kitsune, just so that you know what I said at the end, I'd say that Sonic is the top of C tier, but I'm just putting these in alphabetical order within tiers. But I definitely think that it's better than Balan, but I can't put it up a tier. That's my final note about it. And it's definitely better than I expected it to be, because I expected it to be the anti-game of the year when I played it. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, I thought it was going to be D tier when I first bought it. I can't believe we have to go from talking about Sonic Frontiers immediately into Space Station Silicon Valley. Space Station Silicon Valley is bad. It's so bad. Everything is cryptic. There's no direction. And you constantly have changing mechanics, so it's hard to tell what you're supposed to be doing. The mini games aren't very fun, but they're better than the actual levels. Dying is extremely punishing for how fast you can be killed. The level design is made to waste your time instead of being fun, especially considering you move slow. My last note on this game is would not recommend to anyone, but at least it wasn't The Incredibles. So that's that. The couple things I remember about Space Station Silicon Valley. One thing about me, first, context. Most of the time, if I remember something about a game, I remember the good things about it. That's correct, Clocky. Dang it. I keep just reading the screen. If... I forgot what I was saying. Oh, I normally remember the best parts about a game. Space Station Silicon Valley, I don't remember a single good thing about. What I do remember is there's a level where you start as a turtle tank, and you have to go through poison area, and I never figured out the maze of invisible floor. I just ran through the poison and took the damage and hoped for the best. And then, in that same level, you had to jump from vine to vine for like 10 vines, and it straight up doesn't work, and you fell and took damage and had to go back about 3 minutes every time you fell. It was awful. Also, flying around in the plane, that wasn't fun. There was that level where you had to kill a hippo with a laughing hyena. Awful. There was the kangaroo boxing, which just was a 10-minute time waster, and you easily could die every time. Awful. D tier. Thank goodness we can talk about some good games now. Spyro, which I played on the Reignited trilogy. Forgot to mention this earlier, but Crash 2 I played on the Insane trilogy. Spyro 1 on the Reignited trilogy. It's been a little while since I had played it, but it was a fantastic game. I love Spyro 1. The only thing that holds it back is there is a lack of variety and upgrades, and there's a couple rough levels. Treetops and Misty Bog come to mind. I know that's the general common opinion, but it's my opinion too, and I have it all on my own. So Spyro, S tier. Clocky wins one. He did it. Clocky, I'm curious to hear what your opinion of The Incredibles for PS2 is, given all the other things. Yeah. I've 100%ed Spyro, the original Spyro trilogy at least twice, and now I'm doing it on the Reignited trilogy from the 3D Pick-up Platformer list. So, yeah, you definitely have some nostalgia bias, a lot. That game, I rated 1 out of 10 on my list. There are no 2 out of 10s on my list. The next lowest game is a 3. It was the worst game that I had ever played. I hated it. Okay, Super Kiwi 64. Sorry, Clocky. I love you, but some of these opinions that you have on some of these games, I cannot see them. Super Kiwi 64, very good, even if it was too short. I think I 100%ed it and replayed the game all in with an hour and a half. The levels were all fun little short romps, and getting all the secret stuff was very fun as well. I did think that the game was going to be a little bit longer. What's up, Yam? Yeah, exactly, CC. I thought it was going to be a little bit longer, given that it was like his next main game, but and like Tori 2 took longer for me. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. So I'm gonna put it in A tier. I had a lot of A's this year, apparently. I thought I had more B's, C's, and D's, but Mario Sunshine, classic game for me. I always love playing it. Learning speedrun tricks made it more fun. I write here. I have more options to play through more options to movement and stuff on how I want to play through the game, since I know some of the speedrunning stuff. Sometimes the floodless levels feel a little clunky to me. Yes, that's correct, Yem. It is Legends Arceus. But yeah, always a fun game. Always love Mario Sunshine. I'm gonna put it in A tier, though I think it is in contention with the S tier stuff. I think that I've played Mario Sunshine enough, and it's not new enough to me to put it in S tier. Super Metroid. I don't have any notes on Super Metroid yet, because I still haven't beaten it. I've been on that game for like 6 months, and I keep putting it down and needing to get back into it. I have no idea how far I am into it, but I'm doing it without a guide as much as possible. So far, the only thing I've looked up is how to wall jump, because there was an area where I got stuck, and it was clear that I needed to wall jump to get out, because there was the little dudes telling you how to do it. And I had to look up how to do it because I couldn't figure it out at all. Currently, I had gotten the power bombs, and I blew up the glass thing, and I'm in a water area. And then I got stuck, and I didn't feel like figuring it out, and that's where I put the game down like 3 or 4 months ago. So I can't give it a too high of a rating. It's going to be either in B or C tier. I'm not sure which one. Because it is too cryptic to figure out without a guide. So I'm going to put it in C for now, and just keep in mind that it could move up to B, but I don't think it go up to A. It's just too strange. It needs a little bit more direction, a little more help on the map, something like that. S is just a thing that games have done for a long time, where S is like super or something. It's generally the highest rank. And then after that, it's like a normal grading scale. Alright. Tales of Zestiria. This game is a cutscene simulator. In the first 6 hours of cutscenes, yeah, that was pretty close. You almost got the right person. In the first 6 hours of cutscenes, there was about an hour of gameplay. It was, you're standing there, you watch a cutscene, then you walk forward, and then you enter a building and there's a cutscene. And then you leave the building and there's a cutscene. And then you fight a dude and there's a cutscene. And then you walk to the next building and there's a cutscene. At that point, they should have just made the anime, you know? Because the gameplay had potential, I just couldn't play it. Exactly. You'd pick up an item, cutscene. And I'm not talking about, like, there's a little animation of, like, da-da, I have an item now. It's a full-on voice-acted cutscene every time, because there's so many things going on. D tier. I think the game has potential, I just needed to get past all that, and I couldn't do it. Temetsi. I don't remember where I heard about Temetsi, but it's a puzzle game. It's $3 on Steam. I highly recommend it. I haven't finished it myself yet, because it's very hard. But it's basically Minesweeper, except designed. And there's different shaped boards. So there's the traditional, like, squares. But sometimes they'll be in a zigzag pattern. And sometimes it's hexagons. You can see hexagons on this. Sometimes it's hexagons instead of squares. Sometimes the corners don't count as part of the design. Sometimes it's hexagons and triangles. It's a very interesting puzzle game. And every level is beatable without guessing, which is extremely important. So I've been going through and trying to do every single one just off of logic. And there are, I think, 2 or 3 that I had to cheat and just guess. But yeah, I highly recommend it. And to my Speed Docs crew, I think Funyuns recommended it to me as well, after I had already started playing it. So, there's another recommendation for you. I'm going to go ahead and put this one in B tier, because I think there's only so far you can go with a puzzle game. It's like an A or S tier puzzle game, but it's still basically just something that you kind of do. But looking at my Steam, I have 92 hours into it. So I enjoy it. It's just, it's not, I can't rate it up there with like Mario Sunshine as a game because it's mostly just a click on the screen kind of thing. It's not some sort of masterpiece. It's a great puzzle, but it's not a fantastic video game. You know what I mean? Okay, Tori 2. I enjoyed the game more than the first one. Um, Happy to see that a lot of the issues that I had with the first one were fixed, like the wind mechanic in the first one being based off of your frame rate, making some of the speedruns impossible on PC. Um, I enjoyed all the improved and new environments and art. The S ranks were quite hard overall, but I enjoyed that a lot. And I'm also super happy that I completed it on Tuesday. That'd be February 22nd, 2022, which was a Tuesday. So I'm putting Tori 2 in A tier because I don't think that it's deserving of like Game of the Year nomination to me, but I did enjoy it. Okay. Next up, Toy Story 2: Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue. Very enjoyable. I'm sad that I couldn't watch the cutscenes because of DMCA, because they were legitimately just the movie scenes. I liked that the level structure is consistent. I don't always like that in a game, but I like it most of the time. Where there's just like, yep, there's 5 things to do in every level. One of them is a race. One of them is a collect the things. One of them is this. The requirements to progress in the game were not too easy, not too hard. I played this on PS1. I feel like that's important to mention because I know that the N64 version is not as good. And the variation in the environment was great. My main problems were there was some jankiness in the platforming, especially because of PS1 rendering and sprites in 3D space. The camera was not great, especially on poles, and the bosses weren't super fun. Also, I didn't grow up watching Toy Story. I've only seen Toy Story 1 and I watched that in college. So I don't have a strong connection to Toy Story. But I still think it was a very fun game to play. I'm going to give it a B tier. Unravel 2. Beat the main levels and the challenge levels in co-op. The game was alright, but it did have some visibility issues. And a few puzzles, especially in the challenges, were nearly impossible to figure out. I had to Google one of them. And also, something just kind of felt off about the movement. I think what it is that if you're holding left and then you switch to right, it doesn't like slow down and then shift to going to the right. It just kind of like flings you to the right as soon as you go past the center of the stick. Or at least more than normal, what I expected. Especially for something that is physics-based, where you swing around a lot and... I don't know. It's very good as a co-op game. I don't know how it would play in single player, because it's definitely meant to be co-op. My little sister-in-laws actually just got the game for Christmas, and they've been enjoying it a lot. They're on their 3rd playthrough of it. So yeah, I think it was enjoyable for sure. But it didn't stand out to me, and a couple issues. It's like realistic graphic. Like you're in the woods and there's grass and stuff, and you're a little yarn dude. But sometimes there'll be like a stick laying down like this, and sometimes that stick is something you can walk on, and sometimes it's not, and they look the same. So yeah, I think I'm gonna put that in B tier. And then, finally, Yoshi, NES Yoshi, played it on the Switch, because Noah recommended it to me. I thought it was a fine puzzle game, but it was pretty slow. and had very little complexity. I didn't feel like doing more than one run of each type because within one attempt of each, there's like A type and B type. One is survival and one is like a level. We'll flip the Piplup up again. Let's see if I can get him to stay again. I don't think he's going to do it. He did it. All right. And I did one run of each type. I got a decently high score for a first run, I think. It beat everybody else that had been playing it, because Noah recommended it to a lot of people. And a lot of people played it at the same time because of that. And of all of those people, I got the highest score of their PBs or whatever in just one attempt, because I played several NES puzzle games and I pride myself in being decent at them and figuring out the strategy to them. Yoshi being simple, it was easier to figure out the strategy and get a higher score quickly. I'll put it in B tier. Or, I don't know. It's gotta be C tier. It didn't stand out very much to me. But yeah, this is the list, and now we gotta pick our Game of the Year and our anti-Game of the Year. No, I'm not on an ego trip. I just am decent at puzzle games. Okay. My Game of the Year. Man, let me pull up this again. Here's last year's. You guys can see that, right? Yeah. I think that Super Sammy Roll, Yoshi's Woolly World, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, and It Takes Two at least tie what will be this game's Game of the Year. I think the weight for this year is definitely higher. Like, my average game is now closer to A tier or B tier, whereas on this one is like closer to the BC area. This one is higher weighted towards the top. You see, A tier has a lot more in it. But I think the tippy top is lower this year. But we still have to pick one game to be the Game of the Year. And I'm going to go with Pokemon Legends Arceus. Last year, we had said that Yoshi's Woolly World and Super Sammy Roll were on like the same for me. I picked Sammy Roll because Yoshi's Woolly World I played before and it's been out longer. Sammy Roll actually came out in 2021. So I picked Sammy there. This one, there's no argument. I think Spyro is not quite as good as Legends Arceus. I think Jack is not quite as good as Legends Arceus. And I think Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is not good as Legends Arceus. And I don't think it's super close. I think all three of the S tier games would be worse than Yoshi, It Takes Two, and Hyrule Warriors from this list. I don't think they would be as high there. Arceus is trending. Interesting. So, yeah, I think the level that the top is at this year is just not as high, but overall, it was still a very good year. And then on the other side, there is a little competition. We have Air, Memories of Old, Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville, Bullfrog, Space Station Silicon Valley, and Tales of Zestiria. We're gonna put all of them in, and then we're going to pull them out as they escape. First one out, Air. There are too many people that like the game from my friends for it to actually be that bad. There's no way it's actually that bad. I just did not have a good experience with it. Next one out, Bullfrog. Bullfrog is still just like a 2-cent indie game, basically. I can't compare it to being that bad when it's just a little tech demo, you know? I'm not worried about I'm not disappointed by it, you know? Whereas, like, all three of these other games, I purchased for at least $10, and I want my money back. You know what I mean? Next one out, Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville. Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville, I had a fun time when I thought that the game actually existed beyond the first boss. I don't play shooters very much, but it was pretty fun to play. I do wish that it existed past the first boss, but it doesn't. So we're down to 2. Space Station Silicon Valley. A game that had so much clunkiness, crypticness, and jankiness that I raged on stream. And Tales of Zestiria. A game that had so many cutscenes that I forgot there was a game in there. And the loser is, I guess, Space Station Silicon Valley. Tales of Zestiria, I didn't get far enough in to make a good judgment about it. I think eventually there would have been gameplay consistently. However, there were so many cutscenes at the beginning, and it was not enjoyable. The story was not important, and it just didn't feel like I could. Sorry, Kitsune. I just didn't feel like I could continue playing it because I was so bored, and it was like 8 hours in. But yeah, Space Station Silicon Valley, as we discussed, every single time I played a new level, there was problems. They're so punishing, and it was so not fun. But yeah, that's the game of the year tier list this year. I'm glad you guys were here enjoying with me and talking with me. We're gonna go ahead and save it. Download that image. Save. I would love to see, first of all, if you guys have played these games, I'd love to see like your tier list of how you think those games are. I'll side redeem a dab. There you go, Sai. And maybe even do a tier list of your own for your own games. Oh, did you really, Shadow? CC, I definitely like other games other than these. This is just what I've been playing a lot lately. My big thing that a lot of other people like that I don't get to play is like multiplayer online anything. I just don't play them because I don't like getting caught behind people. Like I used to play several MMOs, and my cousin would just skip school. And he would play, and then he would be 10 levels higher than me. And then he'd be like, oh, you can come with us, we'll just beat the stuff for you. And I'm like, what fun is it if you just beat all the stuff for me? You didn't want me to just beat all the stuff, you wanted to go play, right? So, absolutely, Shadow. I'm just, I really want to play them. I just haven't gotten to it. I played a little bit of Sekiro, and I really enjoyed it. And I was getting better at it, and then I think that's when COVID hit, and I was playing it with Ark in the room to watch. and because he wasn't there, and I thought we were going to see each other again sooner, I just stopped playing, and now I have to restart before I can play it again.